Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to 5 ways British and American plugs are very different, and this is something I always see mentioned to do with the differences in plugs, but I don't know the actual reasons as to what. I think I've seen the UK plug is better, or the British plug is better, for safety reasons, I think, and also it'll stick into the wall a lot better. a lot better. My voice is gone. And like the American one can fall out quite easily, which is weird because I've never considered that a problem, but obviously that's how it is with, I guess, some plugs in the US. It's just a lot looser. But yeah, 5 ways British and American plugs are very different. I couldn't name more than one from what I really know. Actually, I guess there's 3 like slots or whatever. It falls out easier, but is that a way they're different? I don't know. We're gonna check this out. I'm quite tired, to be honest. I'm just gonna jump into this reaction. Links also in the description to my Patreon if you want to see some more of my reactions. But let's just check this out.
Firstly, you can't and definitely should not attempt to open an American plug because there is purposely no easy way of doing so. Unlike with British plugs, you can't simply unscrew them, which perhaps explains the online absence of helpful diagrams.
Has he just started this video as if he's been shocked? I'm kind of thinking, is this in theme?
Hello.
I was doing the whole video like that as well.
I'm Lawrence Brown, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to plugs. Not bath plugs, ear plugs, or plugs that would definitely get me demonetized, but AC power plugs. On the face of it, you might find it hard to believe that these little things warrant an entire listicle, but the differences run deeper than just their physical appearance. From the prongs to the voltage to the things you don't see, the difference in British and American plugs has long been a highly charged issue. Pun intended. I often hear concerns over getting the right adapter, not getting electrocuted. And what do these switches on British wall outlets do? To answer that last question, they're simply for the sake of convenience.
Oh, there's no switches in the US? So you just can't decide if you want it on or off? Oh, damn.
You can switch off the power at the wall without having to unplug and replug every time. That's it. Anyway, these questions are all a result of people getting their wires crossed. So for anyone dreaming of a post-pandemic holiday, join me now to stay current on all things AC plugs. Here are 5 ways that British and American plugs are very different.
Type.
To lend some context to what I'm about to say, it's worth mentioning that different plug designs are not just some random quirk of their respective nations. Plugs are designed according to type and are generally used in multiple countries. For instance, in America, Type A and Type B are the preferred standard, and they look...
Wait, so you have both of these? So you have plugs for both types in your houses?
like this. This is the case in the rest of North America, Central America, parts of South America, and to some degree Japan and Saudi Arabia. In Britain, Type G, which is this one, is the standard, just as...
Wait, no. So in the US, you have plugs that always can fit the 3 plugs, but also the ones with 2 can also fit in as well. What the hell?
As it is in Ireland, Malaysia, Malta, Singapore, Bahrain, Sri Lanka, and Saudi Arabia again. What's going on in
Saudi Arabia use our plugs? What?
Saudi Arabia? In short, there are 15 types throughout the world, A to O.
I say our plugs. I don't know if they're actually ours, but...
In today's video, I'll only be comparing Type A and B with Type G, mostly because Britain and America is the niche in which I deal, but also because the Maltese and Bolivian markets have a wealth of untapped potential. So let's compare plugs. It was once said by me in just a second from now that you can tell a lot about a country by the size of its plugs. And given its unparalleled record of boasting larger stuff than everyone else, America might fancy its chances of winning the my plug's bigger than your plug debate.
Nope.
But the truth is, and you might find this shocking, British plugs are larger. Hey wife, my plug is bigger than your plug.
I don't have a plug.
Alright, and go back to the studio. Suffice to say, this size differential stuck out to me like a sore thumb when I first moved here. To be fair though, I did have a sore thumb when I first moved here. But it's not just the main covering on British plugs that makes their American counterparts look like a tiny village in Arkansas. It's also these.
Wait, are prongs the things I keep getting confused with what they're called? The little ends, pretty much. The things that connect to the power.
You can't talk about AC plugs without talking about prongs. Prongs are the protruding sticks of metal that keep the plug adjoined to the wall like a docked plane. And the only reason I made an aviation simile there was to draw your attention to the miniature control tower I made from British and American adapters while I was bored. Anyway, there are several key differences in this department. On British plugs, the prongs are ever so slightly longer and crucially thicker. This makes them sturdier and impossible to bend. How do I know that? Because I was 14 once. But whereas British plugs, that is, Type G plugs, are decidedly triple-pronged, that's not always the case in America. Sure, Type B plugs, the ones...
Oh, okay, so that's why it's got a little face thing. I didn't even clock it. So all plugs have this. So again, either you can just have it for these two, or you can have the freeway one. Damn. And also, the lines are shorter. I didn't know that either. I thought they were the same size. The lines, the slots are smaller, this one.
Look like surprised ghosts, definitely do have 3 prongs, but Type A plugs, which are easily the more outgoing and competitive of the two, are bipronged. What's the difference, you ask? Well, Type B is a grounded plug and Type A is ungrounded. You see, this rounded third protrusion is known as a grounding prong that connects with the grounding wire. It prevents things like electrocution and fire hazards when plugging into larger appliances like TVs. And this is great because it means I can safely watch Mr. H and his friends reacting to my videos.
I really like his humour. He's got such a dry British humour. I really like his videos, I have to say. He's up there as one of my favourite creators.
Meanwhile, the question of grounding brings us on to a rarely mentioned British-American word difference. In Britain, we don't refer to this as a grounding wire, but an earth wire. With this in mind, it sounds like a great time to move on to this.
Circuitry.
As a child of the British school system, some images will forever be imprinted in my brain. For instance, school uniforms, mangled goalposts and the suspicious signature on my school reports, but I will also forever remember the inside of a UK plug, and not just because of the Assembly Hall incident of 1988. You see, we did an entire module on alternating current in which we got to dissect a whole plug. Or a woodlouse if your name was Darren Briggs. In general, it's important to say that you should not disassemble plugs unless you know what you're doing. That said, inside you have 3 wires, which nowadays all bear the same colour coding. The aforementioned earth wire is green and yellow and performs the same duty as the grounding wire in American Type B plugs. Then you have the blue neutral wire, whose purpose it is to shift electricity away from the appliance, and the brown live wire, which does the exact opposite. Together, the live and neutral wires form a complete electric circuit. American Type B plugs contain much the same wiring, except with some caveats. Firstly, you can't and definitely should not attempt to open an American plug because there is purposely no easy way of doing so. Unlike with British plugs, you can't simply unscrew them, which perhaps explains the online absence of helpful diagrams. But from what I can gather, Type B plugs contain a grounding wire, a neutral wire, and, cue word difference number 2, a hot wire, which serves the same function as a live wire. The grounding wire is often green and yellow, just like in Britain, but sometimes it's just green or simply a completely bare copper wire, as in stark bollock naked. The neutral wire is white instead of blue, and the hot wire red or black instead of brown. Due to the manner in which each country feeds the wires into the plug, there's also a difference in how they hang from the wall socket. In Britain, the wire hangs vertically from the plug, thus making it harder to yank from the wall by pulling the cable. And the horizontal connection of American plugs means that you can do this in theory, but it's not recommended. And while we're on the subject of safety, that brings us on to this.
Voltage.
One of the biggest concerns.
Also, one thing about the British plugs, you can't fit them in a lot of smaller spaces. So that's definitely one positive for the US one. It's a lot smaller, so you can definitely fit it in smaller, tighter areas.
For Americans visiting Britain, aside from being forced to eat mushy peas, is the Great British American Voltage Divide.
I hate mushy peas.
In Britain, residential voltage is categorised as 230 volts, while it's generally 120 in the US. Moreover, British mains electricity operates on a 50 Hz frequency and America on 60. What does all of this mean? Well, let's just say that you want to use your American laptop in Britain, but it doesn't run on 230 volts, is not dual voltage, or is incompatible with 50 Hz. In that instance, you'll need to run to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters. A power converter will convert
That's the thing.
The voltage from 230 to the voltage of your laptop. In the event that your power converter doesn't come with a Type G plug adapter, be sure to also pick up one of these. This plug adapter is magic. It allows you to turn your Type A or B American plug into a Type G British plug. If your device does run at 230 volts or is dual voltage, you can use this without a power converter, but do check. For Brits visiting America, the same applies, but in reverse. You'll need the opposite type of adapter so that your British plugs fit into American sockets. A step-down power converter or transformer might also be needed to safely use devices in the US. Both are widely available for Americans and Brits on Amazon. That's it for...
Well, there we go. The difference is what is actually seen as a better. This video reminds me of the time in college, I did electrical engineering as well, but I've done it for a few months and I've just forgot. When a female student who was not experienced in any hands-on work with electricity asked the professor why various connectors were referred to as male and female. As he began to explain it to her, it suddenly clicked in her mind and an entirely new and brilliant shade of red was observed. What the fuck? Lawrence Brown is the only person that can make me watch a video on electrical plugs and be entertained. In the rare instances when a plug gets damaged in the US, we can cut it off and mend it with a replacement plug available at hardware home improvement stores. Those can be opened with a screwdriver and you follow the directions to match the correct color wire to the correct screw terminal. So it's the same. It's a good idea to unplug the appliance from the wall before cutting off the defect. Yep, I'd assume so. I would assume so. But yeah, there we go. The differences between the plugs. And yeah, if you've been to both countries, which plugs do you prefer? I mean, I guess if you went to the UK, you didn't use the UK plugs, you just had an adapter. But yeah, that's that. Hopefully you found this interesting. And next time, peace.